Back with another lap driving guide for the Bongo people, and this week it is Lusail, Qatar, which is a hideous track. Incredibly difficult to learn because it all looks exactly the same. But hopefully there will be some useful information in here for you. Fast lap at the end as always, and I hope it's in some way useful. Please enjoy. Oh, let's go. Right, excusez-moi. Down here, full speed ahead, 6th gear. Car positioned over to the left. You can put your left tyres on the red and white curb if you want to, and you want to be braking just after the 100-meter board there. So over to the left. As soon as you pass this, about now, full on the brakes all the way down to 2nd gear. Now a lot of this track is about figuring out what you can and can't cut and how much of you can kind of abuse the track limits. So this first corner, 2nd gear for me. Follow it round with your right hand tyres on this orangey bit and your left hand tyres as close to the white line as you dare to get them without getting a track cut. Looking out towards the exit at this point, then it's a case of practicing and repetition to kind of figure out at what point you can start to accelerate. Allow the car to drift right the way out, but keep the steering lock on so it comes back over to the right. Get your right hand tyres on this red and white curb. As soon as you do, you're braking down. Sorry, just to clarify that ever so slightly, let me back up a bit. I don't get a penalty for it. So yeah, get your car back over to the right, and then you've got this sort of white arrow, and then at the point the white arrow turns into the red and white curb is where you start to brake, or at least where I start to brake. Keep your car in this sort of position. Out to the right with your left hand tyres on the grey tarmac, but your right hand tyres on the red and white curb. Down to 2nd gear again. Turn in, cut this quite dramatically. Get your left hand tyres onto the orange again. Now this is one of many corners here where you have to be very patient, as it feels like your kind of instincts will start to tell you to accelerate, but if you do that too early, you're going to have to lift off again, which will compromise you all down the next section. Patience is key. So try and wait as much as you can so you can see your exit. Again, I always prattle on about this, but looking through the corner, looking where you want to go next as much as possible really does help here. It's great to do that everywhere, but here more than most places, it really does make a difference. So start to at full power, allow the car to drift out. Allow it to go in fact this far. Don't put your tyres beyond the red and white curb, because if they go in that sand, it's just unpleasant. There's lots of brrr you have to tolerate on this track. It's just the nature of it, because you've got to use the curbs to really maximize your speed, but avoid going into that sand if you possibly can. You can just kind of like graze it sometimes, but it's unpleasant, and it can cause you to have strange pings and springs and all kinds of funny things start to happen with the steering. So avoid it as much as you possibly can. But you can kind of, in qualifying, obviously take a few more risks to go as fast as you possibly can. But in the race, try and play it safe, really. This right-hand kink. Again, cut it. Keep your left-hand tyres on the white line. Right-hand tyres on the orange. Obviously, this is flat, full acceleration. Allow the car to drift over. You'll be going up through the gears. Onto this curb as much as you can. Then the second DHL sign, so the one we are now approaching, is your braking point for this. I'm normally in 5th at this point, so I'll brake at this DHL sign, go down to 3rd gear. Again, turn in with a bit of a trail on the brake. Cut this as much as you can to about this point here, so the your left hand tyres are on the white line. Try, if you can, to keep a nice smooth steering arc here, which will... You're steering with it sort of at, I don't know, sort of 45 degrees. That should allow the car to drift out to this point. You can use the throttle to change the line slightly, but try not to use the steering too much. Try and do it with throttle if you can. So you drift out to this point here, so your left tyres are on the red and white curb. And then lift again off the throttle, which should cause the car's line to tighten somewhat and allow you to clip this inside curb again. And then it's a case of practicing until you find the point where you can accelerate out, which will bring the car over to the left to about this point here. Again, don't go into the sand. Keep the steering on a little bit so the car comes back over to the right. And then again, get your right hand tyres over onto the blue bit, and you're braking at this Goodyear sign we're just about upon now. Now this is the only corner on the whole track where I go down to first gear. So brake hard, down to first, turning on trailing brake, and surprise, surprise, once again, cut this, but this time it's blue rather than orange. So get your left hand tyres over onto the blue section. You've got your traction control reasonably low. I've currently got the cut, slip, and the overall traction control all at 4, and it feels fine to me. But it allows you to get on the throttle here quite aggressively, and the back should slide out ever so slightly, so you can take advantage of a decent exit there. Accelerate up. I think you get over to third gear here, and you're braking at the last Bosch sign on the left. Down to second gear in my case. It's another corner where you have to be very, very patient. This drive around, basically there's an awful lot of temptation to get back on the accelerator in some of the slower corners here, but that tends to end up compromising you quite a lot on the exit because it tends to drift out far too wide. So just try to be patient. You won't necessarily, you'll probably slow down enough so you won't be braking anymore. It's just kind of coasting or very, very light throttle. But don't start to actually accelerate as such, because you'll just push yourself wide far too early, and then you'll have to lift off again when you're in what should be the acceleration zone, if that makes sense. So you're following this round, trying to look for the exit. It's hard to see because this big bloody stupid mirror thing is in the way. But again, practice will sort of tell you where that point comes, and then when you can, accelerate, let the car drift out, go up a gear, move over to this sort of point here, so your right hand tyres are on the white line. I just leave the car here for this section rather than going back onto the tarmac, and just sort of follow, basically drive along with this red and white curb in between your wheels if you can. You'll get up possibly to fourth gear, I think, here, and that is just a very, you could possibly get away with just a lift here, but I tend to do a very slight dab of brake and then cut this and drift across. Now again, keep the steering on. As soon as your car is going straight and you can straighten the steering, you need to be immediately on the brakes, as it's very easy to miss to go a little bit wide at this corner here. So on the brakes, down to second gear. Again, try and turn in with the trail brake and cut this, and then almost immediately you can go back on the power, because you can use quite a lot of exit here. It's not got one of those stupid sandpit things. Keep some slight steering lock on, so you're naturally going a little bit of a tighter line than the track is, so you end up veering over to the left here. Full power, get up to fifth gear, I think, and then I brake here where the modal sign is, where the track the runoff, sorry, changes from blue to orange. So at that point, I go down to fourth gear in this car, and then this is a case of again using the kind of trying to keep your steering as constant as you can, but using the throttle to change the line slightly. So cut to the inside here, let it drift out. Like I say, I'm in fourth gear, right the way out here, and then come off the throttle, maybe just a touch of brake to get it back in for this. Again, cutting each one as much as you can. This last one, this last right-hander of the three, I do need to brake for. Try and turn in as late as you can for this with a dab of brake, and then full on the power, back over to the left. Again, keep the lock on slightly so the car comes back to the right. Position your car here so you're, again, got the right hand tyres on the orange. Brake just at this Michelin sign that I'm about to go past. Down to third gear, and again, cut this as much as you possibly can. And at this point, back on the power, hopefully just missing the sand, right the way over to the right, and then slowly veer back over to the left. Now you're braking just before this final Michelin sign. If I brake at it, I tend to overshoot things slightly, so just a fraction before, possibly, come on bloody car, possibly about here. Brake there, down to second gear, and then for the final time of the lap, turn in, cut this as much as you can, follow it around patiently until you can see your exit, and full power, Very easy to get a track cut here, which is bloody annoying because it invalidates the lap you're currently on, plus the next one as well. So be very, very cautious of not going a little bit too wide here. Make sure you keep your right-hand tyres on the right-hand side of that white line. And that is basically it. Now, like I said in the intro, this is one of the hardest tracks I've come across to learn because it all looks the bloody same. So the visual references that you rely on just aren't there. It's basically just a flat car park with stupid pylon looking things all over the place, so it takes a long time for it to sink in, but when it finally does, the actual layout is quite good fun, at least I think. So go around again a little bit quicker, and then as always I'll put a fast lap on at the end. So braking just after the 100 into the orange, patiently follow it round, there we go. Third, keep the brake on a little bit. Oh, don't want to go that much further than that. First, get yourself onto the blue, missed it a little bit there. The last Bosch sign, down to second. Following it round, looking for the exit, there it is. Off we go. Dab a brake. As soon as we're straight on the brake, so we can cut in nice and early for this one. Lots of exit there. Over to the left. Fifth. Oh, dab a brake. Back over to the right. You can use your traction, if you go traction control quite low, it helps on that last corner to put your foot down and you'll hopefully get a little bit of rearward slip. So yeah, it's a little bit quicker, so like I say, very difficult to learn, and I'll put a quick lap on now for your hopeful enjoyment. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Qatar.
Time was a 1:57.87.